The arrival of the conquerors. Commander Zeptel's armored boots crunched on the gravel path, the sound sharp and alien in the tranquil air of the human wildlife sanctuary. His towering, insectoid frame, a product of a world where evolution was a constant war, seemed to absorb the light of Earth's gentle yellow sun. Beside him, Dr. Maya Blackwood, the human guide, appeared fragile, a mere whisper of a life form. Her smile, however, was broad and unwavering, a detail Zeptel's analytical mind registered as unusual. Behind them, the Karani science and tactical team followed, their multi-jointed limbs and clicking mandibles a stark contrast to the green grass and quaint wooden fences. They were conquerors of 847 worlds, warriors from a planet teeming with natural weapons. This place, this sanctuary, was an insult to the very concept of survival. A tour of the tame. And here, Maya chirped, her voice echoing a pre-recorded cheerfulness, we have our rabbit enclosure. She gestured towards a pen filled with small, twitching fur balls. They're herbivores, spending their days eating grass and, well, procreating with impressive efficiency. Science Officer Cliffin let out a series of sharp clicks, the Karani equivalent of a derisive laugh. Commander, he transmitted over their private comms link, these creatures are less threatening than our larval grubs. Their primary defense is apparently enthusiastic breeding. Tactical specialist Rexoth pointed a clawed finger. Observe their reaction to our presence. They flee. They hide. There is no fight in them. On my home world, even the plants have more aggression. Maya, seeming to overhear nothing, simply maintained her placid smile, her hands clasped neatly behind her back as she led them onward. Whispers of contempt. The tour continued in a similar vein, each exhibit deepening the aliens' contempt. They saw the deer, graceful and timid, who froze in terror at their approach. They were shown a butterfly garden, a glass dome filled with creatures so delicate that a harsh breath could destroy them. Zeptel paused at a pond where small, orange fish swam in lazy, pointless circles. He thought of the shadow stalkers of Scifi Prime, aquatic predators that could swallow a human vehicle whole. This planet's ecosystem is a failure, Zeptel rumbled to his team. It is a paradise of prey, a banquet for any species with a spine. How has anything here survived? It was a genuine question. The sheer lack of natural defenses was baffling, a biological impossibility in the harsh reality of the galaxy. A deceptive declaration. Oh, we do have predators here, Maya's voice cut through his thoughts, unervingly perceptive. Her smile widened, a subtle shift that didn't quite reach her eyes. But we're saving the best for last. Shall we? She led them away from the herbivores, her pace picking up slightly. The Karani exchanged glances of bored amusement. What could this planet possibly offer? A slightly larger rodent? A fish with a few teeth? They had faced down monstrosities that haunted the nightmares of lesser species. They had conquered worlds where the very air was a weapon. As they walked, Rexoth idly plucked a vibrant flower from a bush and crushed it in his grip, the petals turning to a damp smear on his armored hand. He felt nothing but disdain for this world's weakness. The word domesticated, which Maya had used, echoed in his mind. It was a word for the weak, for creatures whose will had been broken. Little did he know, he was about to learn its true meaning. A shift in atmosphere. Maya led the Karani delegation away from the open, sunny fields towards a different section of the sanctuary. The architecture here was more severe. The fences were no longer simple wood or metal bars, but towering structures of reinforced concrete and thick, laminated glass. The air grew colder, and the cheerful bird songs were replaced by a low, profound silence. Commander Zeptel's 3 eyes narrowed, taking in the change. This was more like the containment facilities on Scifi Prime, though still laughably inadequate by their standards. The enclosures here are designed for our more spirited residents, Maya explained, her tone losing a fraction of its forced cheer. A low growl rumbled through the air, a sound that finally held a hint of menace. For the first time, one of the junior science officers fidgeted, its antennae twitching nervously. The lone wolf. They stopped before a large, wooded enclosure. Pacing behind the glass was a creature larger than the deer, covered in thick gray fur, with intelligent yellow eyes that burned with a cold fire. It moved with a fluid grace, a predator's confidence. Its lips were pulled back, revealing a set of impressive canines. "This is a gray wolf," Maya said. "An alpha male. Unlike the herbivores, this is a carnivore. A hunter." Rexoth stepped closer to the glass, his massive form eclipsing the wolf's. He tapped a claw against the transparent barrier. The wolf didn't flinch. It met his gaze, a low snarl vibrating in its chest. "A pack hunter," Cliffin, the science officer, noted, accessing his data slate. "Moderately intelligent, relies on group tactics. Minimal armor, no ranged capabilities. On its own, it is a low-tier threat." A misleading comparison. Zeptel was unimpressed. "On my homeworld, the Narlaxian Fangma hunts in packs of 3, he boomed, not bothering to lower his voice. "Each one is the size of your transport vehicles. They can chew through starship plating. This, wolf, would be a morning snack for a single Fangma." His team murmured in agreement. They saw the wolf not as a predator, but as a data point on a scale where it barely registered. It was a bigger, more aggressive rabbit, but a rabbit nonetheless. They failed to notice the subtle details, the way the wolf's eyes kept flicking not to the giant aliens, but to the small human woman standing calmly beside them. They missed the look of grudging respect, even fear, in the animal's gaze as it looked at Maya. The human element. "He is magnificent, isn't he?" Maya said, her voice soft. "But you're right, Commander. On his own, against a creature like your Fangma, he wouldn't stand a chance." She paused, letting the aliens savor their feeling of superiority. Then she added, "That's why we had to wipe out most of them." The statement hung in the air, cold and sharp. Zeptel turned one of his eyes towards her. "Wipe them out? Why? They are no threat to a species that builds structures like this." Maya's smile returned, but it was different now. It was thin, sharp, like the edge of a blade. "Oh, they weren't a threat to our structures, Commander," she said. "They were a threat to our livestock. The gentle, harmless animals you saw earlier. We decided they were more valuable. So, we hunted the wolves. With traps, with poisons, with high-powered rifles from a kilometer away. We hunted them from helicopters. We drove them to the brink of extinction not because they were a danger to us, the builders, but because they were an inconvenience to our food supply. We preserved a few, like him, as a reminder." The Karani stood silent. For the first time, an uncomfortable thought slithered into their minds. They hadn't considered this angle. The humans didn't fight their predators head-on. They simply removed them. Systematically. Efficiently. The wolf wasn't the main exhibit here. The true exhibit was the story of its near destruction at the hands of the small, smiling creature standing beside them. The aquatic monster. If you want to see a true solitary predator, one that we can't simply manage in the wild, Maya continued, her voice now holding a clinical edge, we'll have to go to our aquatic division. She led them into a dark, cavernous building. The air was humid and smelled of salt and ozone. The central feature of the room was an immense tank, its acrylic walls several feet thick. Inside, suspended in the deep blue water, was a monster. It was long and torpedo-shaped, a beast of pure muscle and cartilage. Its skin was scarred and gray, its eyes black and soulless. Its mouth, a crescent of serrated death, hung slightly agape. "A great white shark," Maya announced. "This one is a mature female, nearly 20 feet long. We call her Nyx. She is one of our planet's oldest and most perfect killing machines." An apex acknowledged. This time, the Karani did not laugh. Rexoth, the tactical specialist, felt a primal part of his warrior brain stir in appreciation. The shark was a masterpiece of biological engineering. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary feature. It was built for one purpose, to hunt and to kill. Now this, Rexoth rumbled, his voice low with respect, this is a predator. Clifton's mandibles clicked as he scanned the creature. Impressive bite force. Hydrodynamic efficiency is nearly perfect. No social structure, purely instinct-driven. A formidable solitary hunter in its native environment. Commander Zeptel watched the shark glide silently through the water, its power contained but palpable. He could see this creature thriving in the blood-warm oceans of Cor Prime. Finally, a worthy specimen. But his sense of unease was growing. The flaw in their logic. A magnificent creature, Zeptel conceded, turning to Maya. But it is contained. It is a prisoner in this tank. In the wild, your species would be helpless against it in its domain. You cannot breathe water. This is a predator you cannot dominate. He was testing her, trying to re-establish the hierarchy of power. He expected her to admit humanity's weakness, to concede that here, at least, they were not the masters. Maya's smile was gone completely, replaced by an expression of academic curiosity. You're thinking like a Karani, Commander. You see a powerful beast, and you think of fighting it on its own terms. Claw to tooth. That is a failure of imagination. Redefining the battlefield. We don't fight it in the water, she explained, gesturing to a series of monitors on the wall. We never do. The screens flickered to life. They showed not a battle, but a hunt. A small boat bobbing on a vast, empty ocean. A human with a specialized rifle firing a tracking dart into a shark's fin from hundreds of yards away. Another screen showed a submarine, a sleek metal predator, effortlessly tracking the shark's movements in the crushing depths. A third screen showed a different method, sonar nets, deployed by ships, creating a wall of sound that could drive sharks into a designated area. A final screen showed a human in a specialized submersible vehicle, a tiny craft with powerful manipulators, taking a DNA sample from a sleeping shark without it ever knowing. We don't need to breathe water, Maya said, her voice a cold, quiet lecture. We redefine the battlefield. We use tracking technology, satellite data, sonar, ballistics, submarines. We study its genetics, its migration patterns, its behavior. We know more about this creature than it knows about itself. If we wanted to, we could wipe out every last one of them from the comfort of an air-conditioned office 1,000 miles from the nearest ocean. We don't fight it. We solve it, like a math problem. The alien stared at the screens, the cold, calculated efficiency of it all finally dawning on them. The shark in the tank wasn't the exhibit. The monitors were the exhibit. The humans weren't predators of muscle and claw. They were predators of the mind. A new direction. I believe you have seen enough of our planets, animals, Maya stated, the last word carrying a strange, dismissive weight. The final part of our tour is this way. She turned and walked towards a heavy steel door at the far end of the aquatic hall. There were no signs, no cheerful pictures. Just a simple, biometric scanner next to the door, which glowed green as she placed her hand on it. The door hissed open into a corridor that was starkly different from the rest of the sanctuary. It was sterile, metallic, and silent, lit by cold, white light strips running along the floor. It felt less like a public facility and more like a military bunker or a laboratory. The Karani delegation followed, their earlier arrogance now replaced by a tense, watchful silence. The shift in tone was undeniable. The tour was over. The assessment had begun. The Chamber of Revelation. The corridor opened into a circular chamber. There were no enclosures, no habitats. In the center of the room were several comfortable-looking chairs, all facing a panoramic screen that curved around the entire front half of the chamber. The screen was currently dark. "Please," Maya said, gesturing to the seats. "Have a seat. We call this the human exhibit." Commander Zeptel remained standing, his 3 eyes scanning every corner of the room for threats. "An exhibit? Where are the specimens?" Rexoth growled, his hand resting on the hilt of the plasma blade at his side. Maya walked to a console at the side of the room. "Oh, you've been looking at the wrong specimens all day," she said softly. "You came here to study Earth's predators, Commander. But you made a fundamental error in your analysis. You were looking for claws, fangs, armor. You should have been looking for something else entirely. The true face of predation." With a tap on the console, the panoramic screen flared to life. But it didn't show a human in a habitat. It showed a grainy, black and white image of thousands of humans climbing out of trenches in a muddy, desolate landscape. They ran into a hail of machine gun fire, their bodies falling in heaps, yet more kept coming. The scene shifted. A mushroom cloud silently blossomed over a city, instantly vaporizing everything below. It shifted again. A team of soldiers, their faces painted for camouflage, moved with silent, deadly precision through a jungle, their weapons equipped with advanced optics. Another scene showed a room full of people staring at screens, guiding a drone that flew half a world away, before launching a missile at a single, unsuspecting vehicle. It showed riots, strategic bombings, special forces raids, vast armies clashing, and the cold, calculating eyes of generals moving pieces on a map. A universe of violence. The Karani watched, transfixed in horror. This was not the brawling of beasts. This was organized, industrialized, technologically advanced slaughter on a planetary scale. They saw weapons that fired projectiles faster than sound, explosives that could level mountains, chemical agents that killed without leaving a mark, and cyber attacks that could cripple a planet's infrastructure from the shadows. They saw a species that had spent thousands of years directing its entire evolutionary and intellectual drive towards one goal, finding more efficient ways to kill members of its own species. The wolf hunted for food. The shark hunted by instinct. These humans, they hunted for ideology, for resources, for power, for fear, for nothing at all. They had turned predation into an art form, a science, a philosophy. Commander Zeptel finally understood. The sanctuary, the rabbits, the deer, the wolf, the shark, it was all a deliberate misdirection. A test. A carefully constructed joke at their expense. The humans weren't just another predator on this planet. They were the only one that mattered. And the Karani had just told them all of their secrets.